The moment Emma saw the shattered photo frame lying on her apartment floor, she felt her heartbeat sink into her stomach. It wasn't the broken glass that scared her. It was the message scrawled across the picture in thick, angry red marker. "You think you can just move on?" The handwriting was unmistakable. It belonged to her ex, Tyler. She hadn't spoken to him in months, not since she had found the courage to walk away from his manipulation and unpredictable outbursts. But now, as she knelt down in her quiet Seattle apartment, fingers trembling over the shards, she realized something chilling. Tyler had found out she was seeing someone new, and he wasn't going to let her go peacefully. If you believe in kindness, healing, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Emma had spent months rebuilding herself after her breakup. She poured herself into work at the Animal Rescue Center, rediscovered the joy of painting, and began reconnecting with friends she had pushed away during her toxic relationship. When she met Daniel 2 months ago, it wasn't through some dramatic twist of fate. It was simple. He volunteered at the shelter on weekends, soft-spoken, steady, and patient, the kind of man who checked water bowls twice, who spoke to the animals like they understood him, who laughed quietly and listened fully. Emma wasn't looking for love, she was trying to remember who she was. But sometimes love finds you right where you're healing. For the first time in a long time, she felt safe. She felt seen. She felt like her life had a chance to be good again, but now the past she thought she'd outrun was clawing its way back. Over the next few days, strange things began happening. Daniel received an email from an unknown address claiming Emma was using him for money, a lie so ridiculous it almost made her laugh until she realized the real intention wasn't truth, but doubt. Someone slashed one of Daniel's tires while his car was parked outside Emma's building. Emma's phone was flooded with blocked calls, and every time she walked home, she felt a shadow behind her, an invisible presence following just close enough for her skin to crawl. Emma didn't tell Daniel everything at first. Part of her feared that revealing the full extent of Tyler's obsession would make her look unstable or burdensome. Another part feared Tyler would escalate if she involved too many people. She tried to appear calm, tried to smile through dinner dates and quiet walks, but Daniel could read sadness in silence better than most people could read words. One evening after volunteering, as they sat in his car, listening to the rain patter softly against the windows, he gently asked if something was wrong. She wanted to tell him everything, but trauma has a way of gluing the truth to the back of your throat. The breaking point came when Daniel's manager received a complaint email claiming Daniel was harassing a coworker he barely interacted with. It was clearly fabricated, something designed to smear him professionally. When Daniel told Emma, confusion etched across his face. She realized Tyler wasn't just targeting her. He was trying to break the one good thing she had built since leaving him. She could no longer pretend this was something she could handle alone. That night, in Daniel's living room, sitting under the warm glow of a floor lamp, Emma finally opened up. She spoke in long, painful breaths, her voice cracking as she explained everything: the months of emotional manipulation, the possessiveness, the slow erosion of her confidence, and the terrifying attempts Tyler was now making to undermine her new happiness. Daniel didn't interrupt. He didn't flinch. He just reached out and took her hand, grounding her shaking world with quiet reassurance. He told her they would take this step by step, together. Over the following week, Daniel changed some of his routines for safety. Emma stayed at his place for a few nights. They installed a small camera outside her apartment door. She blocked every number that tried to get through, and Daniel saved every threatening message, every suspicious attempt to sabotage their lives. It wasn't about fear anymore. It was about building a case, creating boundaries, refusing to be silent. But trauma is heavy. Even in Daniel's comforting presence, Emma felt guilt gnawing inside her. She worried she was bringing chaos into his life. She worried that Tyler's cruelty would eventually wear Daniel down. One night, while Daniel slept beside her, She lay awake staring at the ceiling, thinking that maybe she should distance herself for his safety. She couldn't bear the thought of losing someone good because her past refused to let her go. The turning point came unexpectedly. One chilly Saturday morning, Emma returned to her apartment briefly to grab some files for work. The hallway felt eerily empty, the way quietness can sometimes sound like a warning, and when she approached her door, she froze. There, taped to the center, was a single Polaroid photo, taken from afar, blurry, but unmistakably of her and Daniel walking hand in hand. On the back was a short message, "This won't last." Her breath caught, the air turning to ice inside her lungs. She backed away, fumbling for her phone, calling Daniel with trembling fingers. He arrived in minutes. The fear in his eyes wasn't for himself. It was for her. And that was the first time Emma saw frustration break through his calm exterior. He looked at the photo, jaw clenched, protective instinct overtaking everything else. That moment changed something between them. Emma realized love wasn't just warm smiles and soft conversations. It was standing beside someone when life turned vicious. It was choosing partnership even when things became frighteningly real. They filed a police report that afternoon. Daniel insisted they include every detail. It felt overwhelming for Emma, but as she watched the officer type their statements, she felt something shift. A sense of reclaiming power she didn't know she still possessed. Tyler had taken enough from her. She wasn't going to let him control her future. But Tyler wasn't done. 2 nights later, Emma received a text from an unknown number containing a photo of Daniel leaving work. The message underneath read, "Last chance." It was a threat, one that crossed from emotional manipulation into something dangerously close to physical harm. Daniel urged her not to panic, but she could see tension in his shoulders, a fear he was trying to hide. They both knew things were reaching a breaking point. The next day, Daniel's tire was slashed again. Only this time, a small knife was left sticking into the rubber, as if the anonymous figure wanted to send a message. That afternoon, while Daniel met with security at his workplace, Emma sat alone in his apartment, feeling a familiar ripple of panic return. She kept replaying the last months with Tyler, how unpredictability had shaped every day, how fear had become almost routine. But now, something inside her shifted. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was love. Maybe it was the realization that she deserved peace. She decided she wouldn't let her past bully her future. When Daniel returned, he found her sitting on the couch with a small overnight bag packed. His face fell, as though he thought she was leaving him to protect him. But then she stood, took his hands, and told him she didn't want to run anymore. Not from Tyler, not from fear, not from the life she was trying to build. She wanted to face everything head on, together. Relief washed through Daniel's expression, softening the fear in his eyes. They were a team now, truly. A few days later, police finally identified Tyler on security camera footage vandalizing Daniel's car. His threats, digital harassment, and stalking attempts were documented. An order of protection was issued, and officers visited Tyler's residence. The confrontation was tense, according to the report, but clear. Tyler could no longer approach, contact, or interfere with Emma or Daniel in any way. The law had finally caught up to the shadows that had haunted her for far too long. For the first time in weeks, Emma breathed without fear pressing on her ribs. Life didn't snap back to normal overnight. Trauma lingers like the last echo of a storm. But the difference now was that she wasn't weathering it alone. Daniel walked beside her through everything. Therapy appointments, follow-up meetings, days when she felt strong, and days when grief resurfaced unexpectedly. Their relationship grew not in the sunshine, but in the rain, honest, vulnerable, resilient. Months later, on a quiet evening at the animal shelter where they first met, Daniel surprised her. As the sun cast warm orange light across the kennels, he pulled Emma gently into the empty play area. He didn't kneel. He didn't make some grand speech. He simply held her hands, looked into her eyes, and said that loving her had taught him more about courage than anything else in his life. He wanted a future with her, peaceful, genuine, and shared. She cried not because of fear, but because for the first time in a long, long while, joy didn't feel dangerous. If this story touched your heart in any way, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your engagement helps bring more meaningful stories to life. Before you leave, comment below. Healing is powerful. Emma's life wasn't perfect, but it was hers again. And as she walked out of the shelter that evening with Daniel beside her, fingers intertwined, she realized that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is simply choose to believe that love, real, steady, patient love, is still possible after everything you've survived. And that choosing happiness, no matter who tried to steal it from you, is the greatest victory of all.